Hello, everyone, and welcome to day one in this quest for a 2000 rating on chess.com. And I'll probably stick with rapid games around 15 minutes with some time added. That way I can explain what I'm doing as I play, and hopefully you can follow along on this journey to try and reach 2000. And so right now I'm at 1525, and once you get up over 1500, the competition becomes more difficult because the players are more and more solid as you go up, of course. So let's find an opponent and begin this journey here to see if we can reach 2000, and how long that takes, who knows. All right. Waiting for an opponent. So I guess I have to figure out what openings I'll be playing. And there's different ways to do that. Some people play all different openings. But I guess I'll try and find a good opening and just stick with that. So I'm going to play e4 and e5. That's pretty solid. And we'll just see what they do. So now knight to c6 here, defending my pawn. And they have the option. Okay, so they play the Italian game. So I'm going to go ahead and develop my bishop as well. Okay, so this is interesting. All right. And, I'm going to have to learn this opening. I'm not as familiar with it because in the past I didn't play e5 as much. So here right away they start with this. Should I capture here with the pawn? Would probably be the most likely move. So I'll go ahead and do that. And just see what they do here. So now I believe this is kind of like a, what do you call this? The Scotch Gambit, maybe. So yeah, I believe we may have transposed into a type of Scotch Gambit. All right, so now, am I going to end up in trouble here? Because, what can he do? Jump up here with his knight and attack my pawn on f7 along with his bishop. Then, I may have to block with my pawn on d5 here. So, already this is an interesting position and it could get tricky, and I'm unfamiliar with it. So I will definitely have to brush up on these openings that I've decided to play. And I'd rather stick with, instead of playing a bunch of different openings, I think I'll just stick with, if they play e4, I'll play e5 and then just see what they do. As white, I'll open with e4 and just go from there. So a lot of times, if you're not sure what to play, that can be an option to, instead of trying to learn a bunch of different openings, just pick one opening for white, one for black. You start small. So I know I want to play e4, and then I'll have to make decisions based on what my opponents play. And then you just slowly branch out from there. That way you're not trying to memorize a whole bunch of opening lines all at once. And, a lot of times you can get by on general opening principles, so control the center, but tactics are important and do come into play. So I may find that out here because I'm wondering if they're going to sacrifice their bishop by capturing this pawn, and then if I capture, they could jump in with their knight and check me, and maybe follow up with the queen, so this could be tricky already. I'm looking, kind of wondering what the best move is here. They could also jump forward with their knight here to g5, piling up on this f pawn with the knight and bishop. So then what would I do? I would probably have to block by giving up this pawn here. Yep, okay, so they do play that. Well, now I guess I could, just jump over here with my knight. So I think I'll go ahead and do that. All right, so, a knight on the rim is dim, which you saw in my last video. But now I can just recapture here and we'll see what will happen. Okay, so now, so they follow up that way. And they'll capture my bishop over here. All right, so all right. Well, I guess I should attack the queen. So I'll go ahead and do that. Attack the queen. And am I just behind now? Okay. Well. All right. Let's see. Is he going to try and check me again? If I jump here, that's a possibility. Okay, is this bishop going to be a problem? All right, well, guess I will jump into there. Okay, so now, do I attack this queen? Just attack the queen looks to be good. So I'll go ahead and do that. All right. And now let's see. Okay, material wise, we have 4, 5, 6, 7 pawns to 7, so we are even. Do I just attack his queen? Attack his queen. That seems to be the move to make. All right. Attack the queen. But how best to do it? Okay. Well, let's do it that way. We'll just attack that queen and try and keep some kind of pressure on. I guess he could capture, but I don't know. All right, so if he could capture me, um, he could just move his queen, maybe here to b5 to prevent my bishop from coming out. But then I could attack him. Um, all right. Well, now what? Should I just attack again here? Just keep attacking his queen? Why not? We'll just keep attacking. And see what he does next. Okay. Well, now we could put pressure on this pawn here. Let's see. Problem is, okay, let's say I move my queen up here to e6, threaten to attack. Does he ignore this attack and just castle? Then if I take the queen or take the pawn with the queen, he could bring a rook out and try and put some pressure on. All right. Okay, probably should get this bishop out. Let's see. Also, I could, do I bring my queen over here and prevent him from castling? Would that be a good move? He could move his knight out to the edge of the board and attack me. Then I would have to jump down to here. Then my queen would kind of be out of play a little bit. All right, well, that could be an option. So let's jump up there, keep his king from castling, see what he does about that. Problem is, okay, so he does jump that knight there, attacking my queen. Well, now, do I move over and attack his queen again? All right. Now the problem would be, well, if I jump here and he captures me, I could capture with the knight and then threaten an attack here. But let's say I go here and he blocks with the pawn. Okay. I don't know. I say we do this. We just attack him. So some of the issues are that, let's say he captures, I capture with the knight. Well, then I'm immediately threatening a fork here. So that would give me time to move this pawn up to try and keep his knight out of my position. All right, well, and this person's rated 1659, so once you, okay, so they do play that. So, I have to capture here. At least I get rid of that weak doubled pawn there. Oh, and I'm threatening to capture with check here. So that's good as well. My queen now is threatening to capture this e4 pawn with check. All right, and his queen's under attack, so he could capture. That's probably what he'll have to do, yeah. And so we exchange off queens, and now he has the messed up pawns here. All right, so and I'm in check, so I pretty much have to capture. So we'll do that. Now he has busted pawns here on his queen side, but then he has this majority here on the king side. So now I have to watch out for this knight, possibly jumping in here, or excuse me, jumping here and threatening a fork, or not a fork, but threatening to capture this pawn, which I would not be able to protect. But I could ignore that, and just move this bishop up here. All right. If I move the bishop up, problem is he could put his rook over here and threaten to come down here and cause problems. All right, well, I guess I should just move this bishop into the center, limit the scope of his knight. So now if the knight jumps here, I could just move a rook over to help protect, and then chase away his knight after my rook moves to c8. He could ignore that. He may just decide to castle and get his other rook out. Okay, so he does that. Now, what should we do here? Well, we have to improve the position of our rooks. So, let's figure this out. Where we could limit we could really try to limit his knight. All right, but these rooks are important. Okay, first we'll just limit the scope of his knight. All right, now we can concentrate on putting our rooks on these half-open files. So, now I have to watch out. Okay, so he's going to try and jump in here. If he does that, I can just capture with my knight. Okay, so we'll just go here, line up on that, bring our other Okay, so he decides to do that. I don't want to capture and let him, pull another pawn into the center. So what I will do is just retreat like this, protect the knight, and then bring my other rook out. Okay, so he decides to attack there. I should just go ahead and push this pawn forward, I guess. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and do that. And we might as well bring our other rook out here. And so a lot of times in chess, if you're not sure what to do, look at your worst placed pieces and just try and improve them. So I definitely need to bring this rook out, which is not doing much here. Bring it over to this half open file. All right. Okay, so now he decides to retreat. Now, what did that move do? Maybe help him push forward with this pawn. I could just attack him right here. That may be a good move. So if I try to attack, that immediately puts pressure on him. If he jumps to the edge, I'm not worried about that. I can't go there yet, or he'll just, okay, so I have to do this first. So we'll go ahead and do that. And let's see what he decides to do next. All right. Well, if he puts his bishop here on this diagonal and tries to line up on my king. Okay, so he presses forward. Let's go ahead. Should we attack that knight? We'll go ahead and do that. We'll just attack his knight. Okay, so now we just do that. And okay, so he pushes forward. Now what should we try and do? Well, we bring our rook over, maybe try and put pressure. Well, we could just attack his rook. We'll just go ahead and do that. All right. Okay, so now he has a threat on our rook here. Okay. So, I guess we should move there. And we probably want to get this rook off of the... okay, so he decides to do that. Now, do we just attack that? Why not? Well, could go there. Okay, well. All right. Well, let's knock that pawn out of there. But now he's going to have a passed pawn in the center. Unless he captures with the bishop and attacks here. Okay. Well, now we might as well block this pawn with our bishop. So that'll work. So we'll go ahead and do that. Oh no. Okay, well, it does work out. I thought I had a problem there. That was crazy. All right. Well, yeah, I thought, his bishop lined up on both of my rooks. I thought I was going to lose one there. But it turned out okay because I was able to capture one of his. All right. So now, what should we do? Should we try and attack? We have to move this rook, but where is best? Maybe move it here to protect the king. All right. Or should I just attack this right here? Or do I move up? All right, so I could attack this other bishop. All right, I'm just going to go here. Play it safe, but I don't know. Maybe I should have attacked something. At least I'm still attacking this pawn, the c4 pawn. And I should have attacked both pawns. So that was probably a mistake. I probably should have attacked, moved my rook up here and attacked his e5 pawn, so I'd be attacking both pawns and then I could pick one of those off. So that was probably a mistake there. So now it kept the game even, and we have opposite colored bishops. So the game is more drawish when you have opposite colored bishops. But I should have probably just moved my rook up here to f5 and just threatened to capture this pawn. So I don't know, we'll see what he decides to do. He could just push forward trying to break my pawns. Um, hmm. All right. And then who knows? I should. One option might be to push this pawn here, get my king into the game because my king is just stuck here in the corner. All right, so I need to activate my king for sure. All right, anyway, at least he's thinking for quite a while here. Um, all right. It's starting to get darker out. I may have to turn on a light here. I apologize if there's a glare off my glasses as the lighting fades outside. All right. Well, at least my opponent is burning a lot of time here. What are the options? I don't know. I'm thinking maybe push this pawn. Well, if he does that, if he pushes this forward, do I just attack his rook? That is a possibility. I mean, do I just capture this pawn if he pushes this one forward? Can I ignore that and attack? But then, he could attack this, he could capture this b pawn. So if he pushes his c pawn to c5, I mean, I guess I could capture. If he captures with his bishop, I could capture this pawn over here. Then he could attack my bishop and recapture my a pawn. So I don't know. It's starting to look pretty drawish unless I make any blunders in the end here, and the time trouble as well. So at least his time is, he's burning a lot of time trying to figure out what to do here. Okay, and thank you all if you stuck around this long. I'll do a game review after this game is over. See what we can learn. That's definitely a good way to improve your chess if you do regular reviews of your games, and also do check out games, go over games of chess masters. You can learn a lot, especially the older masters. Are good for beginners and intermediate players to learn from, as the current best players in the world. A lot of times it can be pretty tricky to figure out what what exactly their strategies are, because chess has gotten a lot more complicated in the age of computers now. They can really come up with some crazy computer moves, that average players, well, even some professional players have trouble understanding some of the computer moves sometimes. All right, so what will they play? Well, at least they're really burning some time down here. I don't know if that's good or bad for me. So, if they burn up too much time, they'll be rushing at the end, unless they're finding some big, deep strategy here to try and blow me off the board. But, okay, if we look at the position, material-wise, we're even. We have opposite colored bishops, which tend to be drawish because, you can't control what the other bishop is doing because you're influencing squares of opposite colors with your bishops. But one advantage I have is I only have 2 pawn islands, here on the king side and on 3 pawns on the queen side, where they have 1, 2, 3, 4 pawn islands. So all these 3 isolated pawns are pretty weak and can become targets. So I'm surprised my opponent is taking this long. Maybe they're giving up and they're just not playing the rest of the game out, which is possible. You know, sometimes the players, if you are winning a game, they just get frustrated and kind of let the time run out. All right, well, I don't know. It's really ticking down here. So perhaps they're just giving up. But I don't know. The game, it's probably drawish. Let's say they push this pawn to c5. Do I capture that or avoid exchanges? If they push that and I attack the rook, they would have to move that rook. They could attack my my bishop by just moving forward, I guess. But then it looks like they maybe are just going to let the time run out. All right, well, it looks like, let's say they push forward. I go up here, attack the rook. Well, then they could try and attack me. Then what? Do I back up here and try and threaten a back rank mate if they push the rook forward? Okay, so I guess my opponent just decided to give up here and not continue the game. All right, so a win is a win. That's I guess it's too bad they didn't continue. But let's do a quick game review and see what we can learn from this game and see what the computer says about how the game may have continued. All right, so I'll do the game review. Sometimes the moves, when the computer does the game review, it kind of just blasts through the moves quickly. So I will, let's see, reviewing as black. I'll review as both. Oh wait, actually, I want to keep it on my side of the board. So black. All right. So I'll go through this, do the game review, and kind of blast through that quickly, and then I will go back with the analysis. And so I'll try and get through this before the video drags on really long here. So it looks like, according to this graph up here, white was in the lead by +1 at one point, and then the game kind of went even, and then black took the lead, then it was even again, and in the end it looks like black was ahead. All right, so let's start here. It was at 89% for my opponent versus 90.8 accuracy for me. I'm pretty happy with anything in the 80s and above, so when it hits the 90s, I'm okay with that. It looks like I did have a miss and 2 mistakes and 1 inaccuracy. My opponent had 2 mistakes but 4 inaccuracies. So let's begin here. Okay, so it's just blasting through the moves really quickly. So I'll just continue on, and then, okay, so I'll go through this quickly, and then I'll look at the analysis and see what the computer says to give you more information and help you learn more. All right, so G7 was a good move. It says a great move. There was only one good move, and you found it. You step your king away from the checking queen. All right, so next, I offered a trade, and it says that is a mistake. That instead I should have moved my rook here and tried to line up on this central pawn. So that's interesting. I was just kind of worried, though, that he could bring his bishop out and attack my queen. So I wanted to just counterattack his queen before he started trying to chase mine around. All right. So another mistake. Queen to c4. It says this seems like a mistake to me. Queen to e8 would have been better to go after this pawn. But I wanted to prevent him from being able to castle here. Okay, so all right, now it's just blasting through the moves. So I'll go ahead and just get through this review, and then all right, what is this? It says rook to f7 is excellent, but rook, okay, yes, and that's what I thought in the game, that I should have moved that rook to f4 to attack this pawn here. Oh, actually, no, I think I was thinking I should have moved it here to f5 to attack this pawn. Huh, interesting. But it wanted f4. Well, we'll look at that when we do the analysis of the computer. Okay, I guess the game ended there. And it looks like I played at a 2100 level. So I don't know if I could keep that up. Maybe I'll be able to reach this 2000 level, in this quest. All right, so opening 97.5 by my opponent, 98.1 by me, which I'm surprised because I need to learn this opening. 86.5 middle game. I had 88.9. So, okay, I'm happy with this game. And now it said, the computer says you had a pretty competitive game there. Your opponent had a good opening, but you were on another level. It was an incredible middle game by both of you. My picture on the screen might be blocking what I'm reading here, and I'm not sure if I can move that up. All right, anyway, let's go back to the beginning, and we'll do a quick analysis of this. All right, so e4, e5, solid opening. For beginners, I recommend playing e4 as white, e5 as black, and just learn all these openings because they tend to be tactical, and tactics are very important, especially if you're starting out in chess and all the way, up to 2000 level and higher. All right, so knight to f3, a good, strong developing move, attacking my pawn, forcing me to protect with my knight here. Or I could have counterattacked, but this is probably the openings I'll be playing for a while until I get better at them. I'm going to just focus on, knight to c6. Here they played the Italian game with bishop to c4. A lot of times people will play the Spanish or Ruy Lopez with bishop to b5. But this is a good solid move, attacking my pawn here. So I respond with the Giuoco Piano, which I think is at the quiet game, where you just develop your bishop, and then it's usually more passive. But my opponent plays this move, d4, and the computer says that d3 was better because now it allows me to just capture this pawn. But it looks like capturing with the pawn is not even the best move here. Interesting. Maybe that threw my opponent off. It looks like I should have captured with the knight or the bishop. Very interesting. If I captured with the knight or the bishop, he could, well, if I captured with the knight, he could maybe go after this pawn. Anyway, there's a lot going on in this opening. I'll have to brush up on this. Let me turn this light on. All right, hopefully there's not so much glare that you can't see anything. All right, well, it looks like d4 is played here. So I played the third best move, which keeps white in the lead by capturing with this pawn. So the computer wants bishop or knight capturing on d4. If the bishop captures, I give up my bishop pair when the knight would capture. And then, so bishop captures, knight captures, and then they want bishop to e3 attacking the knight. So interesting. All right, I definitely have to study up on this this variation of the opening. All right, so this is when they move here, and especially once I capture, well, now we transposed into the Scotch Gambit variation of the Scotch game. And now white has an actual advantage a little bit here. They're up 0.2. So it looks like c3 is what the computer recommends. But in the game, knight to g5 was played, and that swings the game back in black's favor, interestingly enough, even though it looks like there's a dangerous attack building up here. But the problem is now black can play this move because the knight's in the way, and this bishop here cannot capture this knight. So, anyway, now this pawn is protected, but capture, knight capture is recommended, bishop capture, and king captures to keep the game pretty even, because now the queen can swoop down here, which is what he did, checking the king and then recovering this piece here. So g6 is what I played, and it's all still, these are all book moves still. So now instead of capturing, let me go back. It says that queen to d5 check is an inaccuracy. Interesting. So it prefers the immediate capture of the bishop here to keep the game even. So by checking me, now this is an inaccuracy, and black has a slight advantage here. So that's quite interesting. Why is this? Maybe because it gives the king a chance to move over here. Which it says this is a great move, so this is the move that it wanted. Keeps the bishop from swooping in here to h6 and covering the king's escape square on g7 here. So moving on, looks like queen captures, of course, to keep the material even. So we both have 7 pawns here, and a knight and a bishop, but opposite colored bishops. So now the computer prefers rook to e8 here, immediately putting pressure on this pawn, threatening to capture with check. But, of course, in the game, I played d6 to attack the queen. And it says this is an inaccuracy. Black is still in the lead, but rook to e8 would have been better. So now the queen just moves, and it says queen to a3 would have been the best move. So that's pretty interesting. I guess from there, the queen could move over to the king side. All right, so now the computer still says rook to e8 is the best move. But in the game, I played queen to g8, a mistake, and now white is in the lead. So it looks like queen to b5 would have been the best move then. But with queen to b5, I guess I could have started attacking the queen with this pawn move to a6. But anyway, in the game, queen to g8 was a mistake, and so it's followed up with queen to g5, which is good, but not the best move. Capturing is what the computer recommended here. All right, so here I'm able to attack, and that is the best move. Drive that queen out of there, because there was also a threat of the queen jumping in here with the bishop and queen battery, checking the king and driving me towards the center of the board. So now we have a queen retreat. And once again, it says that's an excellent move, but the best move would have been to just go straight back and stay lined up on my king. So now I'm able to jump here to c4 and prevent castling on the king side, but the computer prefers queen to e8. So that's interesting, I guess, to threaten capturing this pawn. So now the knight attacks, and the computer says that's an inaccuracy, that I should have immediately, or excuse me, that the white should have immediately just pushed f3, which he does, I believe, here shortly. So now we have queen to b4, attacking the queen, blocked by the pawn, and that's an inaccuracy, swinging the game in black's favor. Just capturing with the queen would have been better. So capture, looks like that's the best move. Queen captures is best, and now I just capture, which was best, and now it breaks his pawns apart on the queen side here. And so now it looks like the computer wants rook to f8. But first I develop my bishop here. And I did that, and it says this is an excellent move. I wanted to limit the scope of this knight, but, you know, what would that knight do from c4? Probably not too much. He could be chased away, possibly. But anyway, we have castling, pawn move to keep that knight away. The knight retreats, and now I try and get my rooks on half open files. So the knight repositions back into the center of the board, attacking my bishop. So I just retreat. That way, if he captures my knight, I can recapture with the bishop and, you know, maybe attack this pawn, although it could just be defended with an f3 pawn move. All right, so white puts his rook on a half open file, putting pressure on my b pawn. So I just push forward here, and now we have a knight to f3 retreat, and computer says that was an inaccuracy, and it looks like just capturing my knight would have been best. So with knight to f3, I end up playing my other rook, which was my last undeveloped piece. I move it to the other half open file, and now white develops his final rook here. So let's see, continuing on, knight to e5, and it says this is a good move, but g5 would have been better. G5 would perhaps limit the scope of the bishop, maybe give my king more room to maneuver and come up here onto a light square, because that is another strategy in chess that you can use when your opponent has one or the other bishop. You can put your pieces, pawns, put everything on the other colored squares, and then you don't have to worry as much about that bishop. So, but on the other hand, you can also put pawns on the same color square to limit the scope of the opponent's bishop, but you have to watch out in doing that those pawns could become targets as well on squares of the same color as your opponent's bishop. So that's something you just kind of have to learn and feel as you're playing to decide what's best in any given situation. All right, let's finish this game. So knight captures here, the best move. Rook captures, and then now we have f4, which is good but not best. It looks like c4 is what is what the computer prefers, which would threaten to bring this bishop up to b7 and pin my rook to the king. So I move over, attacking his unprotected rook, forcing him to make a decision. And so he just blocks, and now that is a mistake. Okay, so interesting. So a mistake there. What should he have done? Just captured and traded off rooks. It looks like that would have been the best thing to do. But I assume because my opponent was, so much higher rated, he didn't want to just trade down to a draw, and have a draw and lose rating points. But, it ended up worse by not doing that. Sometimes, a game is just headed for a draw and you have to accept that. And if you push too hard to avoid the draw, you could end up in a worse position. All right, so I moved the wrong way. It looks like I should have moved over here in front of my rook. But, I didn't want to block the rook in. Oh, and it says that's a miss. Interesting. So that is a miss, and now the game is even. Very interesting. So let's take a look at that king move. It looks like, if I would have moved here, that would have kept the game 1.3 in black's favor. And then it looks like, how might it have played out? Rook to e2 is showing as the best move here. And then bishop to e6 going after this pawn. All right, anyway, let's look at the final moves here. So king to h7 is a big miss. I guess it puts my king back in the corner when the king probably needs to run up here to help fight in the center. So we have c4 attacking my rook. So I just jump up here, the best move, attacking this unprotected and isolated pawn. e5 is played, which now, I just capture because I don't want him pressing this pawn forward. So I capture. He responds with a pawn capture, and it says this is a mistake. So looks like the bishop capture would have been best, and that would have kept the game even. So if we go back, take a look at this. Now this would be a great move because now this bishop has a nice outpost in the center. This pawn is protected. My pawn would be attacked here. I would be forced. Well, not necessarily. I mean, I guess I could just capture here, capture the c pawn, and try and block this. So I guess that could work as well. Let's see what the computer recommends. Yes, it recommends just capturing this unprotected c pawn in this position, and then one of his rooks would line up on mine, and then we would trade off a pair of rooks, and then it's looking for a c6 move to get my pawn off the dark squares that this bishop is covering. All right, let's take a look at the final moves. I apologize if this video has gone on for quite a amount of time here. Okay, so that was a mistake, and now bishop to e6, the best move, blocks this passed pawn, on a dark square, which further blocks the bishop. And now bishop to a3 attacking. And so here, let's see, I capture, which was best, recapture, and now rook to f7. And here my opponent just let the time run out, of course, but it looks like the computer preferred the best move, it says, is rook to f4, but not by much. It's only a little bit better than what was played. And if we go back, let's see what else it recommends. So rook to f4, it says, is best. Rook to f7 was second best, and also rook to f5 was good, attacking this pawn here. Now we have rook to f7 being played. My opponent just let the time run out, but the game may have continued with, this is what the computer says may have played out. Rook to f7, protecting this pawn. Then g5 is recommended, which lets my king come up to the center of the board, maybe go after this isolated pawn. And then now, looks like the computer says bishop to b4 would have been best, which I guess, what is he trying to do here? Get out of the way of this pawn and maybe push this pawn forward. And then rook to f4, piling up on this unprotected, or excuse me, this isolated pawn on c4. But now, very interesting. The computer recommends moving the bishop here, where it could possibly jump down here and attack these pawns. After this move, another interesting move. Maybe the computer is not sure what to do here, because it's saying rook to f7 would have been a better move. But anyway, pawn move and bishop finally captures. In the end, black would have been ahead here. The king could try and march out here, although now the bishop is free to move here and protect this passed pawn. But black has a pawn majority out here on the queen side. Okay, well, I'll end it there. So this was day one, and we got a win, so I'll take that as always. I hope you enjoyed the video and follow me on this journey to a quest for 2,000 rapid rating on chess.com. And like and subscribe if you haven't already. Feel free to leave comments or suggestions. And you can also check out the other videos on my Nick Butts Chess channel. I have, I think, 360 videos on there about. All right, everyone, have a great day, and I'll see you on day 2.